Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about Book 5 of the Dark Tower, Wolves of the Calla, right now. And first and foremost, this was a very interesting book. This was the book that Stephen King took the longest on when it comes to the Dark Tower. Looking at reviews online, there were a lot of people who were very frustrated with how long of a wait this book was. But a lot of people love this book, and I want to say that I am not one of those people. I think this book is maybe not as bad or not as uninteresting to me as book 4, but the New York sections of this book really bored me, and I did not care at all what was going on during those sections. I really enjoyed everything with the Calla, though. I loved hearing about this sort of mysterious force that kept coming in and stealing children, because the story of this book is that Roland and the quartet have descended upon one of these towns that are being sort of under duress between these sort of weird, like, robot creatures and the loosening of the fabric of reality with the Dark Tower failing. And there's this really weird sort of like build up going on throughout the book where we're kind of learning more and more about these creatures that keep taking the children. And everyone who is born in this town are twins, which is really interesting. All the children who are born end up being twins. And that was something that I thought was really cool. And I really enjoyed reading about the town. I loved everything with this town. I loved all the characters. I loved all the events. I just did not care when we were going back to New York and having to kind of just go in and out of real life. And then one aspect of this book that I'm kind of going back, kind of half and half on, because this is part of a larger universe. All of Stephen King's books are pretty much interconnected, mostly through Easter eggs, but through the Dark Tower, there's a lot more important pieces, including characters, concepts, things that happen during different books that come back during this book. And this book specifically has a character from Salem's Lot come in. And I really enjoyed him this book. He was probably my favorite character in Salem's Lot. And he's the one who carried the book for me. And it was so great to see him back in this book, because he sort of provides like a really sort of great way to introduce sort of this concept of the meta, because this book is the most meta of all of Stephen King's. There are Stephen King book references in this book. There is even a reference to Stephen King himself. So the author is referencing himself in his own work. I think overall I'm okay with that. I think it's really cool. I'm open-minded. I'm curious where this will go. But I don't really know. I was very sort of taken aback when it first showed up, because I think this is something that can fail very quickly. I haven't read a book where an author put themselves into the book this sort of front and center. But I'm curious about what will happen. This is not a book that I don't think I will read again. I really enjoyed it, but again, like everything when we go back to New York City and having to sort of like sneak through and try to get like all these different objects and these characters and all this stuff, I just did not care. I was really mostly there for Roland and the quartet, and I really enjoyed Jake this book. I think Jake was a very strong character, probably my favorite character of the quartet this book. Jake just really kind of became a leader of the group and sort of really became his own, kind of becoming someone who really adds to the group. I really enjoyed his sections. I thought his POV was great. I loved his friendship with Benny. I love everything with sort of this countdown thing going on, because this book is heavily inspired by Seven Samurai, probably one of my favorite movies by Akira Kurosawa. And Stephen King takes this book and also its remake, or its unofficial remake, of A Fistful of Dollars, which I just watched the other day again. And I love that movie. It's amazing, Clint Eastwood. But I was really struck by how just fun this kind of story hook is. Of all these bad people coming in on this town, and there's a time limit or a time countdown going on because they're coming in when the harvest is ready. Like they're coming in when the villagers have the most money, have the most food, have the most children, because these creatures come every 2 decades or so, and they steal the children, and then they disappear for 20 years and they come back. And I really enjoyed that aspect. And I just wish the New York stuff was not in this book, but it's really important to the story, so I kind of have to deal with it. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this book. I think it is better than book four, but it's not that much better. But overall, I think it is so much better than what it could have been, because there was a lot of things in this book that I think a typical reader would probably be too weirded out by, or they just would not care for, would not have the patience for, or would feel kind of out of nowhere. But I'm a very open-minded reader, and I think this book is sort of the turning point. I feel like we're going into the end game, because I guess this is spoilers now, but just to get into the ending is awesome. I loved it. I love the ending, especially with Susanna, who has been carrying this alter, not ego, but this different personality within her, who is named Mia or Maya, and she is pregnant. And her body changes depending on who is sort of overlooking the body of Odetta or any of these personas. But Mia takes over Susanna's body. Susanna tells her, like, let me get through this battle, let me get through the end battle, and I will let you take over my body to do whatever you want. Because Mia wants to do something, and there's this empty space at the top of the Dark Tower that was mentioned a lot this book. And I feel like Susanna would be the one to fill that space, or at least Mia specifically, within Susanna's body. And I really loved the exploration between Susanna and Mia, and also looking at how Eddie was being affected by that relationship, because it's one body with two different people within that body. And that is not something that would be easy to deal with. And Eddie, I think, what a stand-up guy. I feel like he is such a great character. I love reading about him. And his relationship with Susanna is just so beautiful. I love the way they talk to each other. I love the kind of quips back and forth with each other, and kind of like the familiarity with each other, even though they haven't been together for really all that long. It was just really wonderful. I love the characters in this series so far. Roland is awesome still to this book. But I was really wanting more from Roland. I feel like he didn't really do enough, but the last few books have been so Roland heavy that I don't really mind it all that much. So I'm going to kind of hand wave that and be like, okay, whatever. But one thing, too, that was really weird is that the robots are actually all the entities that keep coming and stealing the children. They look exactly like Doctor Doom from the Marvel cinematic, or not cinematic universe, but the Marvel universe. And they also wield lightsabers from Star Wars. And this was something that I was really kind of like, okay, like, we didn't need it spelled out so hard, because Stephen King describes these characters, these robots, as like green hoods, stainless steel body, and like a steel mask. And that gives me a very clear image of Doctor Doom. So I felt like Stephen King did not need to go in and be like, that was Doctor Doom from Marvel, and this is, Spider-Man's, nemesis, and villains, and, everyone else in the Marvel, and explaining that entire side of pop culture. But I also feel like this is going to be a more prevalent phenomena within the Dark Tower because things are getting more meta, and the lines between the Dark Tower series and our lives is beginning to thin, which I'm very excited for. I think there could be some really cool things coming up within the series, and I'm very just excited to continue. And so I think I'll give this book like a 7 out of 10. Like, it was good. I enjoyed it. But there was a lot of things I just did not care for. I did not dislike it. I did not actively hate anything. But I did not really care for a lot of aspects outside of the town of Calla and everything going on with the robots and this mystery around why are the children being taken and all of that. And it was just really fun. I love the character of Andy. I love that just really loving robot who ends up being the betrayer. I thought that was a really great twist. I personally did not see it coming, but I thought it was very well delivered. And it was just really cool. I really love that character. I love the image of him singing and walking through town while all these children are following him, being the Pied Piper. It was just really cool. There was a lot of great references in this book to classic literature, and I just can't wait to continue the series. Thank you all so much for watching, and please let me know what you think of this review, what you think of the book, the series, whatever. I'll respond. So thank you everyone for watching, and please have a great rest of the day.